Good. Good. The October 12th, 2020 meeting of the Union County Zoning Board of Adjustment is now in session. I'm Rick Davis, the Vice Chairman of the Union County Zoning Board of Adjustment. Also sitting on today's board are Darren Green to my right, Mark Tilley to my left, Larry Britt to my right, and Dion Edwards to my left. Also present is Mr. Jim King, who is the Zoning Administrator and Senior Planner, Ms. Amy Griffin, Clerk to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and Derek Thurman, who is the attorney for the Zoning Board of Adjustment. There could be a hearing of three types: application for a variance from the regulations in the zoning ordinance, or an appeal from a decision or an interpretation of the zoning administrator, or an application for a special use permit. The order of each case will be as follows. All parties who plan to give testimony, pro and con, must complete the green form that's up at the podium if you want to speak. And also, you have to be sworn in. The zoning staff member will explain why a permit was denied or why a variance is requested on the nature of the special use permit application. The board may question the zoning staff member. The applicant may question the zoning staff member, and then the applicant presents his testimony for the case. The board may question the applicant. The zoning staff member and persons in opposition may question the applicant. The applicant may present sworn witnesses. They will be subject to cross-examination. Other parties wishing to speak, pro or con, will be given reasonable time to present sworn testimony. They will be subject to cross-examination. The zoning staff member and then the applicant will be given an opportunity for rebuttal. After hearing the case, the board will review the case and render a decision. This is usually done following the close of the public hearing and the board's deliberation. However, the board may elect to take up to 30 days to render a decision. You may remain present during the deliberations, or you may call the zoning staff member after the session to receive the decision of the board. All exhibits must remain with the board. Please hand them first to the clerk for tagging. If your case is not appealed to Superior Court, after 30 days, you may pick them up or they will be destroyed. If you feel there is a conflict of interest of any member of the board or an association that would prejudice your case, please let it be known at the start of your case. We are a quasi-judicial board and can accept sworn testimony only. No hearsay evidence is admissible. Appeal from this board is to the Union County Superior Court. You have 30 days from the day of the board's written decision in which to appeal in accordance with the NCGS 160A-388D. And as a reminder, we'd like to ask everyone to please turn off your cell phones and your papers. Our regular meeting, item A is the determination of quorum. And we do have 5 members sitting, and the 2 alternates will be voting members tonight because we have 2 regular members that are out tonight. All right, we look for approval for the September 14th, 2020 Board of Adjustment meetings. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve September 14th.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right. Going into the public hearing now, we'll determine if there's any conflicts of interest for case number 2020-VAR-03, item B. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest with it? If not, we'll go on to item B, the special use permit. The applicant, Diamond Constructions, is requesting a special use permit to construct and operate a 195-foot monopole style wireless telecommunications tower on a farm located at 7813 500 South Fork Road, more specifically identified as parcel number 07-114-08690. The Union County Development Ordinance requires the issuance of a special use permit for any tower exceeding 60 feet in height, but less than 200 feet in height in the RA20 zoning district. All right, Mr. King, is the petition complete?
It is.
Okay. Does anyone have a conflict with the item? I ask for a petition, a motion to hear the petition.
So moved.
Okay, Larry. Ask for a second.
Second.
Okay, Dion, thank you. Is there anyone that would like to request a continuation of this meeting, continuance of this meeting? Okay, with that said, okay. All right, with all of those who plan to give testimony, please come forward and be sworn. Anyone that wants to give testimony for or against, I ask that you please come in and be sworn. Anyone that's gonna be speaking will have to be sworn in.
For purposes of social distancing, can we just do two at a time?
Yes, that's fine. Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
I do.
Okay. All right, remember, anyone that's gonna be speaking, be sure to fill out the little slips up at the front. Okay, Mr. King?
Did you, letter? Okay.
I've got a short little presentation here, and then we'll move on and let the applicant speak. So, property is at 500 South Fork Road. As you had mentioned, it's identified by parcel number 07-114-086-90. The owner of the property is the Killo Family Farm 101 LLC. The applicant before you tonight is Diamond Communications LLC. So this right here is an overall plan. This is showing the entire property boundaries. The property itself consists of 162 acres. Where they're proposing the towers, the area that's going to be highlighted, it's going to have the towers, the proposed tower is 195 foot, and it's got a 100 by 100 leased area for the equipment sheds. Here's the landscape plan. What they're showing on the landscape plan here is they're showing the row of bushes going around the compound. One of the things that the ordinance requires is it needs an S2 high-profile screen, which consists of one tree every 40 foot, bushes that will grow to 6 foot in height in 3 growing seasons, and the planting strip has got to be a minimum of 10 foot in width. I've talked to the representative for the applicant, and they received a copy of the staff analysis, which outlined some conditions staff was looking for. They have informed me that they have adequately met those conditions, and they will present that as new evidence to you this evening.
Okay.
This will be a tower profile right here, showing that it's going to be a monopole. It's going to be 195 foot high. They're going to decorate it to make it look like a tree, and the tower has to have 4 carriers per the ordinance. This illustration in this PowerPoint only shows 3 locations for 3 carriers, but they're, again, are prepared to show that they meet that minimum qualification.
Okay.
Jim.
Yes? Oh, okay. So this tower right here was designed to have a fall radius of 165 foot. One of the comments that staff did have was to ask if there's, to show any structures within that 165 foot other than the structures that are used for the cell tower itself. The applicant has informed me that there is nothing close by where the proposed tower is. Now this illustration right here, the yellow circle indicates the area that AT&T was looking at to place their tower. They found a location kind of on the external parameter of their search ring, and they're also showing what's located within 1 mile radius of this. I'm going to let Ms. Camerite speak a little bit more to this. There's 2 red dots on here. They don't have anything that illustrates what they are. So are those other towers or?
There are no towers within the
Okay. I just want to make that clear.
I didn't understand, what did she say?
There are no towers within the 1 mile ring.
Okay.
So this property, as I stated before, is zoned RA20. There's only a few parcels out here that are in county's jurisdiction. It's the site itself, and then the small little parcels that are adjacent to it. There's 4 of them. Those are on the county's jurisdiction. Everything outside of those is in the town of Indian Trail. And that's better depicted on this right here. So you can see those 4 parcels that are outside of the subject parcel that are in the county's jurisdiction. Like I said, everything else is in the town of Indian Trail. Staff did reach out to the town and sent them a copy of the application. Indian Trail responded that they did not have any comments in regards to the cell tower. However, because of this location's proximity to their proposed town center, that any future development they would want to have a say-so in. Land use plan calls for this to be mixed-use residential, and it is in the employment corridor, which, you know, as far as land use plan and rezonings go, it would allow for rezoning to commercial type uses. As far as transportation, Crypto, which is the Charlotte Region Transportation Planning Organization, on their CTP, which is their Capital Transportation Plan, has proposed some connectivity roads here. None of these roads would have direct impact on the site itself. And, you know, and I talked to Bjorn too, and you've got the railroad that's to the kind of like northeast of the property. Railroad crossings are almost impossible to get, so I cannot see that connection being made.
Okay. What about the connection that comes from East Park Road into,
You know, in the future, I could see that, especially if this property is developed, and that they would probably look at bringing East Park into maybe some type of a boulevard type of road or something at that time. Right now, they've got it identified as just 2-lane with curb and gutter.
so the tower wouldn't have any effect on this if they did, okay?
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
If you go up there to the corner,
Okay.
where you can see the edge of Highway 74 right there,
Okay.
in that top corner, right there by the word legend,
Very top right-hand corner.
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
I think that's 74. Tell me what that's close to on 74.
Oh, Lord, let's see.
I can tell you,
Okay, good.
you know, that Plyler Road cuts across, comes out there. It's gonna be between like, the stoplight at Walmart and the stoplight at Harris Teeter. There's that little road right there.
Okay, so it's right in there behind the golf course then?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I know where's that.
Okay. So as far as development status of this property is undeveloped. And looking at environmental features, there is a USGS regulated stream through this property with floodplain, but this proposed tower site will have no impact on that floodplain. So staff's recommendations, and as always, we always, you know, must comply with local, state, federal requirements, must fully comply with the Union County Development Ordinance, must comply with the conceptual layout for the concept plan. It would need a S2 high-profile screen around the entire compound, need to demonstrate that no structures other than equipment sheds within the compound are located in the 165-foot file radius zones. Tower must be able to accommodate at least 4 carriers, and they will need an NCDOT driveway permit.
Okay, Mr. King, you're saying here that the tower must accommodate at least 4 carriers. In their summary request, they were only talking 3, but you said that's not an issue with them, that they would comply with that.
Yes, I've spoken to the representative who said that they have adjusted their profile, tower profile, and where they are going to accommodate up to 4 carriers.
Okay.
I have a question there.
Okay, yes, sir.
Those 2 red dots, they're existing towers?
No, I had Ms. Cameron clarify on that there is no towers within that 1-mile ring of the proposed tower. That might just be a glitch on GIS or something that showed up.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, Mr.
Thank you.
Approach with the
Okay. Are these the same ones that we have here? Oh, those are different. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll get started. Good
Would you state your
evening.
name, please?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Karen Kimmerite. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Fox Rothschild in Raleigh, and my business address is 434 Fayetteville Street, Raleigh, North Carolina, 27604.
Okay, what was your last name?
It's hard to spell and pronounce. It's Kimmerite, Kemerait.
Okay.
And
I got a question. Can you move that microphone closer?
can you hear me?
Like these.
Is that better? It doesn't move a lot closer.
It's not picking up good for some reason.
Yeah, we're having trouble, we're having difficulty hearing, that's fine.
I'll try to speak up.
Okay,
Okay. I appreciate you being here, especially since this is the only matter on the agenda. I am the past chair for the Raleigh Board of Adjustment, and so I fully recognize the time that volunteers put into these types of matters. But I am the attorney for AT&T Mobility Corporation and Diamond Communications, and also the property owners, Mr. and Mrs. Killo. They were both planning to be here this evening, but Mr. Killo unfortunately was confused about the time. He thought the hearing was supposed to be at 7:00 a.m. as opposed to p.m. And Mrs. Killo is ill this evening, so neither one of them at the last minute were able to be here. But this is our application for a special use permit so that Diamond Communications.
Excuse me just 1 minute. I saw that there was a notarized sheet here that gave you the authority to speak with them
Yes.
and their behalf. Okay,
Yes,
thank
and
you.
that's included in the application.
Okay.
And before I provide any more information, the notebooks that I passed up to the board, I did not know that if you had the full application in front of you. And so it is our entire application, but under tab 8, that is the construction drawings with the site plan. And that is what we have made some revisions to address the conditions 3, 4, and 5 to demonstrate that we have met all of the requirements of the ordinance. And I would ask that the board admit the revised application into the record, please.
Okay, will this come in as Exhibit A? Okay.
And so this is our, as I mentioned, our application for a special use permit so that Diamond Communications can construct a 195-foot cell tower with a 4-foot lightning rod. And it's going to be designed as a monopine. As Jim mentioned, that is a cell tower that is disguised to look like a pine tree rather than as a typical monopole. And I'll talk about the reason for it being a monopine in just a couple of minutes. But the cell tower is so that AT&T can greatly improve its wireless telecommunications coverage in the area, and also so that the First Responder Network Authority, that I'll refer to going forward as FirstNet, can provide broadband coverage to the first responders in the area. And by first responders, obviously I mean the police, firemen, and EMS personnel. And we are, the cell tower has been designed as a monopine because the cell tower is going to be located in an area of the Killo's property that is very heavily wooded. And Mr. and Mrs. Killo wanted the cell tower to be in that wooded area so that it would be very well screened and buffered from the roads and from all of the adjacent properties. And they also believed that by designing it as a monopine, that it would fit in very well with the tall and mature trees that surround it. So that is the reason that this is a monopine as opposed to a more typical monopole.
Do you have a rough estimate about how tall the trees are that are around it?
So the trees, of course, the cell tower is going to have to be taller than the height of the trees
Sure.
to provide the coverage. But these are tall, mature trees, so my estimation is that they are going to be 80-foot trees.
Okay.
So the cell tower will be taller than they are, but from the line of sight perspective, just the top of the tower will be visible in the areas in which it will be seen. And before the hearing got started, I spoke with, there's 3 neighbors who are behind me on the back left portion of the room, and they are Chris Sowards, and Debbie and Cole Carlton. And before the hearing, I talked to them and answered some of their questions. And what they had been concerned about was that this was a rezoning of Mr. and Mrs. Killo's property, which clearly it's not. It's a special use permit, and that only the leased area will be affected by the cell tower. And they also wanted to know where the tower would be located, and I showed them where it would be located. And their properties are on the opposite side of Mr. and Mrs. Killo's property and located to the very west of the property. So this tower should not have any impact on their properties. And so I'd like to move on and provide some background about the site. And for orientation, the Killo's property is southeast of 218 Park Road East and Indian Trail. And under tab 8, we have the site plan, and the site plan is sheet C1, and that site plan shows where the Killo's property is located in the area. And the tower is going to be located pretty close to the city's athletic fields, which is the Edna Love Park, and then directly west of the Seaboard Railway. So it's adjacent to that railway line. And it also will be located, the property is located east of South Fork Road. And the Killo's property is a very large, about 163-acre parcel that's zoned RA20. And they use their property for agricultural purposes. And the tower, as you can see from the site plan that I just mentioned, is located on the northeastern portion of the site in a wooded area of the parcel. And Diamond will be leasing just a small area of the parcel, a 100-foot by 100-foot, which is 0.23 of an acre for the cell tower. And then there will be a 14-foot wide gravel road from East Park Road to the tower site. And then the remainder of the property will remain exactly as it is, and it can continue to be used for agricultural purposes by the Killos.
Okay, now you said it'd be a 14-foot road?
Excuse me, the 14-foot road, and there's also an easement area.
Okay, but it's showing here a 30-foot access and
Right.
utility easement.
So, excuse me, 30-foot utility and access easement, and then the 14 area is the road
Okay.
portion. And so the site is located in an area with something of a mixture of uses. The parcels in the immediate area, some of them are vacant. Many of them have single-family homes. There's some industrial uses, and then there's also the city property where the athletic park is located. And because the parcel is so large, of about 163 acres, there are 19 adjoining parcels. And under sheet C1, again, the site plan, under tab 8, you can see that many of the adjoining properties, not all of them, but many of them are owned by Kilo family members. And of those 19 adjoining properties, 10 of them are owned by Kilo family members. And AT&T is going to be placing its antennas at the 185-foot position on the tower so that it can be at the top of the highest point of the tower to provide the maximum amount of coverage that's available. And then, as noted under sheet C3, we have revised the construction drawings to show that there will be room for AT&T and 3 additional carriers, so a total of 4 carriers. So that is a change that we made to the construction drawings after receiving Mr. King's comments. And then also, I wanted to provide some information about the importance of this tower and site for FirstNet. And as the board may know, FirstNet has entered into a 25-year nationwide partnership with AT&T to build the first nationwide wireless broadband network for first responders for use during times of disasters, emergencies, and also daily public safety work. And the way that the partnership works is that FirstNet will provide 20 megahertz of spectrum and the public safety expertise, and then AT&T will provide the commercial expertise and the nationwide resources to deploy those resources for FirstNet. And so the tower is not only important for AT&T, but also important for the first responders in the area. And in regard to AT&T, we provided propagation maps under tab 12 of the application binder. And as you can see in those propagation maps, the AT&T's radio frequency engineer has prepared them and has shown that there is a large gap in coverage in the area where the tower will be located. And then one of the propagation maps shows the coverage that will be available after the tower is constructed. And as you can see, it will greatly improve coverage along the Highway 74, which is Old Monroe Road corridor, and then the entire, this is under tab 12. And then the surrounding area. And then
Are there any other towers, you say this, the low cell service, is this just for AT&T customers, low service, or for all the cell service in that area?
It is going to be available for all of the wireless companies. So AT&T will be the first carrier to put its antennas on the tower, and I think that Diamond Communications' hope is that the other carriers will soon come to the tower and improve their coverage in the area as well.
Okay.
Well, I have a question about what you brought up about the AT&T with the emergency medical and all that. You're going into Indian Trail here, and that's fine, your competition, that's good. But Indian Trail really don't lack a whole lot for cell service. What's AT&T's plan to get out in these rural areas where we don't have cell service?
So,
And the emergency medical people are struggling with their service. I mean, you brought it up, so, I'd like for you to address that if you could.
so AT&T, so if you can see in the propagation maps, AT&T is already located on the towers that are to the north, south, east, and west. So this will fill in the area. And at this point, this is the only application that I have been asked to handle for AT&T in Union County in this area. But I do know that as part of AT&T's partnership with FirstNet, that they are required to provide coverage and infrastructure in areas where it's needed. And so I've been doing a lot of work for AT&T over the past year and a half, and we've been coming into more rural areas and not the suburban and not the urban areas. So we are trying to provide coverage for AT&T and then for FirstNet in the rural areas. So this is part.
Since you were saying that they're required to do some of these things, when this is over, would you leave some information? Because I also serve on the 2050 Vision Board here, and that's one of the things that we're fighting for. And that would be wonderful to have that information.
And what I can do is after the hearing, I will get that information from AT&T and then provide it to Mr. King, and he can pass it on to you about what plans AT&T has.
Okay, one other question. Is this the only area in Indian Trail that AT&T is looking at as far as a weak area, or the other areas that are weak there?
This is the only application that I'm coming forward with, but like I mentioned, I will find out what other areas that AT&T may be looking to improve its coverage. And so I can provide that information after the hearing. And so Diamond and AT&T worked hard to find a really good location for this tower that would meet AT&T's coverage objectives and also provide the infrastructure for FirstNet. And I believe that they found an ideal location on this large 163-acre parcel that also has the wooded area so that the tower could be located within the woods. And because the parcel is so large, the tower is going to be located a significant distance from all of the adjacent property lines. For example, it will be located 374 feet from the property to the west, and remember that's where the rail line is located. It'll be located 168 feet from the property to the north, and that is a Kilo family member who lives there. 338 feet from the property to the northeast, and then 1,964 feet from the property to the south. So I'll move on now to discuss what our
Question on that. Is that basically the highest elevation that would work that you could get on for the tower so it would perform at the maximum?
Right, so what AT&T and Diamond wanted to do is they wanted to provide as much coverage as possible to the area, but they also did not want the tower to be a lit tower. And so towers that are less than 200 feet are not required to be lit by the FAA.
Well, that's not what I'm asking.
Okay.
Did you find the highest elevation point of the property you were looking at so you could get the maximum level without 200 foot from ground is 200 foot, so that's what I'm asking.
So Tom is here, he may have that, I'm not sure if you have any information to answer that question.
Hello, I'm Tom Vinesky from Diamond, one of those northern names, hard to say. With the property, it is actually located in the actual wooded area for screening. It is one of the higher points, as you can see to the south of one of the earlier photographs with the creek and the stream. Those are all running on the south of the property. Everything's sloping down towards there, so we are gaining elevation. We're not as high as to the north property, but that's a more exposed area. It's closer to the doctor's home, so this is in a shielded area that protects it.
I guess my question, you've got it at the highest location that would feasibly work for the project.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And then moving on to section 30.190D, which is I'll be discussing how we have met all of the general standards and design requirements of the county's development ordinance.
All right, let's get the section
So-
again, please.
Did you
Okay.
say section 30?
30.190D.
Is it
And-
under a different tab? We don't have a 30 tab.
This is the provision in the development ordinance that
Okay.
I'll be discussing,
Okay,
so I
thank
don't
you.
think you need to look for anything.
Okay, thank you.
As the board knows, cell towers are permitted on RA 20 property with a special use permit. And again, as we have made revisions to the site plan that is included under tab 8. And what those revisions show is that there are no structures within the 165-foot fall zone area. And under page C1A, that is the page of the site plan that shows that there are no structures within that fall zone area. I mentioned earlier, but under page C3, we have revised the construction drawings to show that there will be room for 4 carriers on the tower. And then we have a landscaping page that's located under L1 for landscaping as part of the construction drawings to show that we have met the requirements for an S2 landscape buffer. And then in regard to aesthetics, we were actually not required to do so, but we did disguise, as I mentioned, the tower as a pine tree, and the antennas will be screened on the tower so that the tower will blend in as best as possible with the surrounding trees. And then in regard to the setback requirements, I won't mention again the distances to the adjacent property lines, but we have well exceeded the setback requirement. And then the tower will not be lit, and there will be a 6-foot tall security fence. So those are the requirements for wireless telecommunications towers. And we have met all of those. And then moving on to the special use standards that are provided, again, this is the provision of the development ordinance under section 80-110H. And first of all, that we have complied with all regulations and standards generally applicable within the zoning district and specifically applicable to the special use. Again, we have met all requirements for a wireless telecommunications tower that I just mentioned. We also have demonstrated that the tower will not materially endanger the public health, safety, and general welfare of the county as a whole. Not only will the tower not injure the public health, safety, or general welfare, but it will improve the public health, safety, and general welfare by improving wireless coverage in the county. And improved wireless coverage is in great demand across the country, in the state, and in the county, as more and more people rely upon their cell phones and the services that are available with their cell phones. And this tower will enhance the coverage along Highway 74 that I mentioned and the surrounding area. And also during times of natural disaster when landline telephones are down, the residents and the people traveling through the area will have access to 911 services through their cell phones. Also, we've,
Question about that.
yes.
Now, 911 works regardless of who your carrier is on your phone. If you're around a cell phone, it works, right? Or a tower, I'm sorry. Regardless of who the carrier of your phone is, the 911 service works on all towers, correct?
That is my understanding.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought that's what it was.
And then we provided information in the application that the radio emissions will comply with all federal rules and regulations, including FCC standards. And then the development ordinance has some specific considerations, these considerations are not applicable to a cell tower, but I'll just briefly describe them. First of all, the development ordinance talks about traffic considerations in the vicinity. And a cell tower is an unmanned facility, and it will generate very little traffic whatsoever. After the cell tower has been constructed, there will be only about 2 vehicle trips per month, and that is for maintenance purposes only. So I think from a practical standpoint, there will be no increase in traffic whatsoever. The next consideration is a provision about services and utilities, including sewer, water, electrical, garbage collections. And again, this is an unmanned facility, so there will be no need for sewer, water, electrical, and garbage collections from the county. And then in regard to soil erosion and sedimentation,
Excuse me
we
just
have-
a minute. You just said it would not require electrical, but it does require
Yeah,
electrical.
we will be supplying the electrical
Okay,
to the
okay.
site, yes. And then in regard to soil erosion and sedimentation, measures will be taken to ensure that there will be no issues with soil erosion or sedimentation during construction. And we have included a soil erosion control plan, and that is on sheet C13 in the construction drawings under tab 8. And then the last provision under this section of the ordinance is about protection of public, community, or private water supplies. Again, this is an unmanned, low-impact facility, and there will be no effect on surface waters or groundwater. And then the next provision is that we have demonstrated that the tower will not substantially injure the value of abutting property or is a public necessity. And I would submit that cell towers in today's world are in fact public necessities with the number of people who are now working from home and the school-age children who are doing online classes.
Okay, excuse me. Did you come to do an impact study
We-
on the property?
Right. And we have that, the impact study is located under tab 15.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And I have a question on that. Since you brought it up about the home, people working from home and a lot of the schooling going on. I'm not real certain how to ask this question, I may need your help with, but as far as the internet access from the cell phone tower, does it meet, I guess, with the 5G standard or whatever the highest standard of this is now?
So I believe that this cell tower is, that 5G is not proposed for this cell tower, is my understanding. But I can follow up after the hearing
But
about
it
whether
will
it's-
have where you can access the internet on it.
Correct, through your phones.
Now-
Yes.
Does that, let's say you're the only one on there, AT&T, or it's the only one on there. So would you have to subscribe to AT&T in order to get use out of this tower? Or do y'all have contracts with like Verizon and all where y'all piggyback?
So if AT&T is the only carrier with its antennas on the tower, then internet service would only be available to AT&T's customers. However, what Diamond is going to be doing is they're going to be actively marketing this tower and checking with Verizon and T-Mobile to see if they need coverage in the area and trying to get them to locate their antennas on the tower so that coverage can be improved for all customers throughout this area. So, and then moving on, as I mentioned, this is a large, about 163-acre site. It's located in a wooded area, and due to the existing vegetation and trees and the landscaping, the tower will be very well buffered. And then again, this is a low-impact use, and it's an unmanned facility, and it will not generate any noise, odor, and very little traffic, and it will fit in well with the area in which it's to be located. And then, as I mentioned, we do have a property report that's located under tab 15 that has been performed by a North Carolina certified real estate appraiser.
Okay, could you just give us a brief summary? Was the impact study good, or was there any property?
Right. So the impact study looked at a number of cell towers, and the conclusion is that this cell tower will not injure the value of abutting property.
Okay.
So no effect whatsoever.
Okay.
And then finally, the last criteria is about harmony, and we've demonstrated that the cell tower will be in harmony with the area in which it's to be located. Cell towers are an allowable use with a special use permit in RA 20 districts, and so there is a presumption, a legal presumption that it is in harmony with the area. And then again, as I've talked about several times already, it will fit in well on the property and in the area because it will be located on this large parcel in the middle of this wooded area, and it will be disguised as a pine tree. And it will also benefit the area by improving coverage in the area. And then again, it's a low-impact use that will have no impact because it will not generate any noise, odor, light, and it will generate very little traffic. So I've gone over pretty extensively, but we've met all requirements of the ordinance. And I believe that the staff report recognizes that we have, all requirements have been met. So we respectfully ask that the application be approved.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone else that would be speaking?
Well, I have a couple.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Sorry, Larry.
So the cell tower I'm familiar with, I see all 485. It's not a different type of tree, but in the photographs that you show here, you're depicting the tower in various residential areas. It shows, a tree complete, but that's not really the case. It's only the tree is only the top portion.
The tree part will only be the top portion, but as you can see, what it will look like is as it's been depicted under the site plan.
So it's not going to come down to the wood. It's going to be a pole and then the
So
branches on top.
Tom, with Diamond, I think he can best describe how the
I
trees.
do have another question to you before we do that. So the fire department, police department, personnel, how does that work? I mean, you've got one tower right now, AT&T. So is there, I don't see any documentation from any police departments, fire departments, that they need that coverage.
Well, this is what FirstNet has been asking for, to be able to provide this coverage, the broadband coverage in rural areas. So it will be available for the first responders. And so there is a coordinated effort to determine where this broadband coverage is needed for the first responders. And this has been an area that has been cited as an area that FirstNet has targeted.
Is FirstNet another county, or do they split them with AT&T?
So FirstNet will be an additional, it will have broadband coverage on the tower. So there will be room for AT&T, FirstNet, and 2 additional carriers.
I can answer that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll answer both questions. In regard to the tree, that's correct. The branches are coming down on the tower, but the base, the trunk of the tower, to use a tree term, will not have branches on it. Part of that is because it becomes extremely unwieldy lower on. It prevents extra climbing, and it means that you have to get a crane for everything. FirstNet is actually designed, it was under the whole, it came after basically the trade centers, and what happened was there was so many people trying to get on the system at the same time that people using their cell phones, using other radios, couldn't communicate. It was too much capacity. So what the FirstNet channels do, it actually piggybacks on the AT&T system with a dedicated channel. So it's the same AT&T antennas. There's no additional antennas. They've not taken another space on the tower, but they have a blocked out channel that's always available for their use. And it's not just local, state, and federal, it's not just local uses, it's state and federal uses as well. So just because the local fire department may not be using it, any state people who come in or any federal people who are on the FirstNet system can use that to do that. And part of it too is they're trying to build it so that it can be used seamlessly. So they don't want to necessarily have it in one area that doesn't work in other areas. So the whole idea is to build enough capacity to have a launch of it. And so in the last year, we've probably done hundreds of FirstNet sites all over. In fact, I'm doing some in New Mexico and Michigan, and the sites are actually picked by someone from the state who sees that there's a lack of coverage, or they define an area where it's needed. It's not AT&T picking the spot. It's actually a state representative for FirstNet who picks that spot.
Is that GC also?
Yes, it is. For instance, like some other ones, it's usually the police chief said, this is an area where our radios always drop. So they say, okay, we'll try and put a tower there. And that's how the locations come about.
I have one more question for you. When
It is on the plans. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it is rated to that, even with the branches, because that's the additional wind loading. So it's structurally designed for the additional wind loading of those branches, plus 4 carriers on it, and that's what we revised it to. Yeah, so it means it's thick. It's pretty thick steel and a really big foundation in the ground. Sure.
I have one more question about your tree on top.
Okay.
To my knowledge, Union County does not require that on the monopoles in the county. Why would you choose to put that on there? Just,
Landlord's request. It is substantially more expensive for us to build it that way, almost 4 times the cost. But it was the landlord's request to blend in with the wooded area, and we tend to agree that it does blend in. I think sometimes you see trees on highways and there's nothing around them. It doesn't make sense. I think it helps
I've
in
never
this.
understood where a 200-foot pine tree blended in an oak forest, but you know, it's beyond me.
Understood.
Okay, any other questions?
I do have one question.
Okay.
You mentioned a 6-foot chain link fence around it, and some of the paperwork mentions an 8-foot with 3 strands of barbed wire, just for clarification.
Check the plans and make sure that I'm. So thank you. Page C11 refers to an 8-foot tall fence. So we will be putting in an 8-foot tall fence. So we'll be exceeding the ordinance requirement.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is there anyone else that's presenting evidence for the petition? Is there anyone presenting evidence against the petition who would like to speak against it? Okay. All right. We have now concluded the portion of the cases that pertains to the presentation of evidence. The board shall now proceed to the discussion and decision portion of the cases. Interested parties are not permitted to address the board during this portion of today's meeting. However, everyone is permitted to remain present and listen quietly to the board's discussion and vote. In order to receive a written copy of the decision, any aggravated party must file a written request for a copy of the board's decision with the board's clerk or chairperson at today's hearing of the case. These forms are located next to the podium. Okay, we'll be closing the open session now. Okay, does anyone have any comments?
Being in a heavily wooded area, does it need the S2 screening?
That's what staff has recommended, so I would think we should go with their recommendations on it.
You never know, the trees get
Exactly.
cut down.
I just want to clarify that.
Any other discussion? Mr. King, they did an outstanding job in their presentation as far as the facts and findings. Could we present this as evidence to go along for our purpose on it? Okay. We'll go through the findings of facts. It says the proposed use and development comply with all regulations and standards generally applicable within the zoning district and specifically applicable to the particular type of special use. If you look on page 13, page 13. If you look on page 13 of the information that they gave us, that Mr. King gave us, it's on page 13. You'll start finding there with item 1, and there's a good description as far as the facts and finding evidence there. I would ask that each one of you read over that just to be sure that it's good with everyone. Or if you'd like me to read it.
So are we voting on that one now?
Yes, everyone good with that?
Number one?
Number one? Yes. I hear a motion with,
Mr.
oh, excuse me.
make sure you read that into the record, please. The actual finding.
Okay, as far as the actual findings, do I need to read this or just go ahead and read it in as this will be presented as evidence? Do I need to read each one of them?
Yes.
Okay. All right, the proposed use and development comply with all regulations and standards generally applicable within the zoning district and specifically applicable to the particular type of special use. Confirmed, the proposed use is a 195-foot monopine wireless antenna support structure and facility within a 100-foot by 100-foot leased area of a large 162.90-acre parcel of land located in an RA20 district. The wireless communication facility will comply with all regulations and standards applicable within the RA20 district. The proposed wireless telecommunications facility will service the community and area in which it will be located and is allowed as a special use in the RA20 district. The facility will at all times comply with all state, federal, and local regulations and standards applicable to this particular use.
Motion to accept.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, with that one approved, we'll go to number two. Which the purpose of development will not materially endanger the public health or
You
safety.
need to vote on the, you
I'm
got a
sorry.
second, but
I apologize, yes,
that's
sir.
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. The proposed development will not materially endanger the public health or safety considerations. Traffic conditions in the vicinity include the effect of additional traffic on streets and street intersections, sight lines at street intersections, and curb cuts. The proposed wireless telecommunications facility will be located southeast of 218 Park Road East and Indian Trail, Union County, North Carolina. The facility will not generate more than 1 or 2 vehicular trips per month to the site for servicing of the facility, as an unmanned facility will not create additional traffic on the streets, street intersections, or sight lines at the intersections or curb cuts. Provisions of services, utilities, including sewer, water, electrical, garbage collections, and fire protection. An unmanned facility, the wireless telecommunications facility will not require water, sewer, or garbage collection. It will only require electrical utility service. In the unlikely event that fire protection is needed, fire protection will be provided by the Stallings Fire Department. This site falls within the territory of the Union County Sheriff's Department. Going with the soil and erosion sedimentation. Appropriate measures are being taken during construction and otherwise to ensure there will be minimal soil erosion and sedimentation loss. Please refer to the soil and erosion control plan and details on sheet C13 of the construction drawings under tab 8 of the application binder. Protection of public, community, or private water supplies, including possible adverse effects on surface waters or groundwater. As an unmanned, low-impact facility, there will be no effect on surface waters, groundwater, or public, community, or private water supplies. Okay? Do I hear a motion that be accepted?
I'll make a motion that number two is accepted.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before you move on, I
Okay.
want to make a request to staff.
Okay.
I'll pay part of mine if I just get one copy per page. I'll buy the paper.
Yes, it is kind of difficult for us to try to flip back and forth on it. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to flip back and forth and find it. Okay, under the third one, the proposed development will not substantially injure the value of abutting property or is a public necessity considerations. The relationship of the proposed use and the character of developments to surrounding uses and developments, including possible conflicts between them and how these conflicts will be resolved. The proposed tower is a public necessity and it will not injure the value of abutting property. Most people prefer to live and work where wireless coverage, internet digital capabilities are available. Currently, many people are working from home, and families with school-aged children receive assignments through Google Classroom and other sources, and are, in most cases, required to submit assignments in the same manner. People want to be where it's safe to live, work, and play, and they will have emergency access that is needed. The tower will be located on the large 162.9 acre tract that is used for agricultural purpose, and will be set back a great distance from all adjacent properties. The tower will be set back approximately 374 feet 4 inches from property to the west, 374 feet 5 inches from property to the northwest, 168 feet 9.5 inches from the property to the north, and 338 feet 2 inches from the property to the northeast, and 1,964 feet 3 inches from property to the south. The photographic simulations are provided under tab 14 of the application binder, and the photographic simulations show that in the areas where the tower will be seen, it will be disguised as a tree. The proposed tower and wireless facility will not only ensure the value of adjacent properties as real estate studies have shown a low intensity use such as this does not adversely affect the value of surrounding properties. And we need to address back to their impact study on that. Okay.
Whoa, okay.
I don't like the way that's read.
The wireless facility will not only injure the value of adjacent properties, you sure you wanna leave that in there like that?
Yeah, that's the reason I'm saying we need to go back to that impact study. I can't, I know she could.
Can
come
I
in.
make
She
a
can.
modification to that language? We have submitted all documentation to show that it will not injure the value of abutting property. So that is simply a typo in
So
the
let's
description.
take the word only out.
Please
That
do.
needs to come out.
Yes, thank you.
That's the reason I want to refer back to that impact study. That didn't sound right. Please refer to the impact study performed by Michael P. Berkowitz, located under tab 15 of the application binder. So we can refer back to that as evidence also.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just a point of clarification in my mind and I don't like what I see, but I'll vote yes, but, just for future reference for folks. Tab C3 shows, a tree. It says on tab C3, the limbs, from what I'm able to see, start at 114 feet and go up from what it looks like to me. Everybody agree? Y'all agree?
Okay.
Well, under tab 14 that's represented here, and this one, they're showing simulated pictures, and I guarantee you one thing, those limbs on those trees go a lot lower than 114 feet. I just don't like that. My personal opinion is, it should be more clear, because I'm fairly confident if y'all look on, say, under tab 14, at simulated view from location 2, I pretty well guarantee you that those limbs go a lot lower on that simulation than 114 feet. So, anyway, I'm just saying, I believe you brought that up, Larry. And so anyway, when you're sitting in that person in that pickup truck, when he looks out and looks at that thing, it's not gonna look like that, nowhere near like that. It's gonna be a big, long pole, just like all them trees we see, with a little bit of limbs at the top. So I would just ask that going forward, and that's just a public service announcement for folks bringing those to us. When you do your simulations, make them look right. And don't tell me that's gonna look like that, 'cause it's not.
Okay.
That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. All right. So whether the proposed development is necessary to the public health, safety, and general welfare of the county as a whole as to justify it regardless of its impact on the value of abutting property. The proposed tower will not only maintain the public health, safety, and general welfare of the county, but will enhance the public health, safety, and general welfare of the county and the residents and people living, working, and traveling near the proposed site. The proposed site will be a FirstNet site which will aid first responders in responding to emergency calls. Thousands of facilities such as these are located throughout the state of North Carolina and tens of thousands nationwide. None present any threat or danger to public health and safety. Radio emissions from the facility will comply with all federal laws, including those established by the Federal Communications Commission, and the emissions will fall well below the emission standards for this type of facility as established by the National Standards Institute. I'm having to flip back 4 of my pages too. In addition, as a result, the special use permit application and request to construct this wireless communication facility being approved by the county, the communication service will increase public safety because first responders, businesses, residents, citizens, and those traveling through the proposed coverage area will be able to place, receive calls during emergencies. Please refer to the radio frequency propagation studies provided under tab 12 of the application binder. Figure 2 of these studies show wireless coverage for the area as it currently exists without this wireless facility, and Figure 3 of the study shows the area and the coverage that will be provided with the addition of the proposed wireless facility once it is constructed, operating on air and providing coverage for this area of Union County. Wireless communications is a public safety necessity as communication is critical in times of crisis. 74% of Americans who own mobile phones say they have used their handheld devices in an emergency and gained valuable help. Most importantly, in times of natural disasters, wireless communication consistently emerges as the essential and often only means of emergency communication. Union County first responders, businesses, travelers, citizens, and residents in the coverage area will be able to access 911 emergency services in the event that severe weather or other unforeseen circumstances down traditional landline communication services. Thus, the first responders, businesses, travelers, citizens, and residents in this area of Union County will directly benefit from the availability of improved wireless telecommunications services. Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yeah, I'd like to ask the representative from Diamond Construction.
We've closed the session though.
Oh, all right, okay.
Yeah.
I would like to find the mile per hour design in this.
For the wind resistance of the tower,
I can't answer it right off the top of my head, but I do know that from prior meetings where we've approved cell towers, they have to meet the state regulations for this area before they can get approval on that end.
I think they also have to meet federal regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to be to a certain standard, they just can't stick it up there.
So that's governed by the regulations of the installation of the cell tower itself. Okay. All right, anyone else have any discussion on it? Do I hear a motion, we accept it? Okay, Mark,
Accept.
second? Derek, all in favor? All right. Number 4, the proposed development will be in harmony with the area in which it is located. Considerations are the relationship of the proposed use and character of developments to surrounding uses and development, including possible conflicts between them and how these conflicts will be resolved or mitigated. A wireless telecommunications tower is an allowable use in the RA20 district with a special use permit. The proposed tower will be in harmony with the area as the proposed tower will fit in well on the property and the area and will provide for the expansion of wireless services in the area. The tower will benefit the surrounding area as wireless services will be available to those who live, work, or travel through this area. Furthermore, the site of the tower is a large 162.9 acre tract of land, and the primary use of the parent tract, agricultural use, will not be altered by the tower. The proposed tower is a low-impact use, and it is an unmanned facility that is not open to the public. The proposed tower is sited in order to have the least visibility possible and is located within a large parcel. It will generate no more than 2 to 4 vehicle trips per month for maintenance purposes, and it will not generate any odor or noise. The tower will not generate additional traffic or be of any significant impact to the nearby public roadway. According to the tower, will fit well in the area. Any comment on this one? Do I hear a motion to accept it? Mark? Second?
Second.
All in favor? And number 5, the proposed development will be in general conformity with the comprehensive plan. The proposed development will be in conformity with the comprehensive plan as noted.
Motion approved. Motion accepted.
All right, that was
Second.
second. All in favor? All right.
I think we was cheated on that last one, you didn't have to read there.
I was glad too. All right, do I hear a recommendation that with all these accounts, all these findings of fact accounted for, do I hear a motion to So recommend the approval of the special use permit.
I make a motion to approve this special use permit.
Have a second.
I'll second.
All right, all in fa, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. It is approved.
I just have one more question.
Okay.
When are you gonna provide the area in the rural area that you're gonna build two in order to build one? We're trying to get 2 for 1 here.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Yes, ma'am, thank y'all. Very, very effective in your information. Thank you. Well presented.
And we will voluntarily comply with the conditions, because you didn't mention that.
Okay, yes, staff, under the staff recommendations. Okay.
Yes, we will comply
You
with
will,
those.
okay.
Yes.
You voted too fast. Before Jim and I could squeeze it.
Thank you
I
so much.
apologize for that. So everything good then?
Yeah.
All right. Any other business that we have? Do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I did a little bit fast.
He brought it up, after it was over. and I was
Come on.
like, y'all are so fast, y'all, everyone, let's go home.
All
No,
that-
it's fine, it's fine.
All that
Don't
written
worry.
about getting me out.
I saw her jumping up too, and Jim had.
What about boy?
I don't even want to hear it.
Jim, you wanna